the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Every Tuesday on the Happy Families podcast, we answer your listener questions. And we've got two people who have visited happyfamilies.com.au, pressed on the button on the podcast page where you get to talk to us and tell us what's on your mind. Kylie and I, between the two of us, have something like 105 years of combined parenting experience. That is, we've got 6 children, and if you add up all their ages, it's more than 100 years. We've been doing this for a while. We reckon we've got some stuff to share. Plus, I've written 9 books about how to have a happier family, and we just reckon we can be helpful. So, Daniel is the first person to send us something. Here's what Daniel had to say.
Hi, Justin and Kylie. Huge fan of everything you do. I'm a divorced father who shares care of an 8-year-old daughter with someone who doesn't share my positive parenting style or thirst for education, particularly when it comes to homework. My daughter is intelligent and showing signs of being a perfectionist, which she gets from me, so she's a prime candidate of anxiety. What strategies do you recommend to support her, as she will get pressure from her mum and teacher to do homework and feel pressure to do it at our house instead of having crafternoons and being a kid, just so she doesn't get punished when she goes back there?
So I've never heard the word crafternoons.
Don't you love it, though?
But I want to have lots of them.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. Kylie, I'm going to jump straight in and just say this. Co-parenting is really hard. Co-parenting is really, really hard. I've talked to so many people who just shrug their shoulders and say, don't think it's actually possible. Now, there's plenty of people who get it right, but there's a reason that you're not together, and that's what makes co-parenting so hard. So picking your battles matters, and avoiding battles as much as you can is absolutely huge. There are some apps for co-parenting. By the way, hashtag not sponsored, but there are some apps for co-parenting that can be super helpful. Our Family Wizard and 2 Houses are the ones that I've seen that seem to have the best reviews. Those apps don't address the specific issue that you've raised, but they could be a useful foundation moving forward. So, Kylie, when you hear this particular question, what stands out to you initially?
First of all, it just feels like it's a really, really hard space to sit in as a parent who wants to do the best by their child. But there's an equal parent on the other side who wants the best for their child as well, and never the twain should meet.
Even though looking at diametrically different positions on an issue and both saying this is what's best.
Yeah.
So we need to give both parents the benefit of the doubt here.
Going on a small tangent, I remember when one of our daughters received the news that she had a dust allergy. A normal reading for an allergen is 100. She had a 4,100 reading for dust. So as a typical mum, I went into absolute hypervigilance mode and I tried to remove every possible speck of dust in our house. I ordered hypoallergenic sheets and mattress protectors and all kinds of things. And except for ripping out the carpet that we had literally laid a few weeks earlier, I did everything I could to eliminate dust in her day-to-day life. When I went back to the doctors, he just acknowledged to me that I could spend every waking moment doing that. And not only would I destroy her childhood in the process, I would go balmy trying to do it. And I feel like that kind of plays out here a little bit. We've got a dad, he really recognizes and can see how important it is to have those crafternoons and have that downtime after school. But at the end of the day, is it the most important thing? Is it the thing that's going to bring the most value to her life, recognizing that there is a significant difference in opinion on the other side?
Yeah. So, my position on homework for a long time has been well known. And that is that there is no evidence that doing homework when your kids are in primary school is going to be good for them other than reading. Having said that, in this situation, if dad puts his foot down and says, my daughter is not going to do homework while she's at my home, it just puts the daughter in a really difficult spot. She ends up bearing the brunt of it because you've got a teacher who's pushing for it and you've got a mum who's pushing for it. And ultimately, dad doesn't pay the price. The daughter pays the price. And homework is not that big of a deal. Is it great for kids to be doing it? It's hard to argue that there's good evidence that kids should be doing homework. But in the scheme of things, there are a whole lot of other things that are going to make a much bigger difference in terms of her well-being and her academic outcomes. So I look at this and think she's probably going to be able to do it just fine anyway, based on what her characteristics have been described as. Let her do it and then do the other stuff as well. Have the crafternoon once the homework's done. I used to be really hardcore about this, but I've eased right off. That's how I would be approaching it. We've got to be peacemakers. We've got to find ways that we can make things work.
I think where possible, one of the most important protective factors for our kids is having predictable structure and routine in their lives. If she's going from mum's house to dad's house and the structure and the routine changes all the time, that actually causes so much anxiety and stress in and of itself without all of the other factors. So, like you said, homework, is it that important? No, it really isn't, especially at this age. But if it's not causing any stress on her end, if she's doing it and she's happy to do it and she's not feeling frustrated because she doesn't know how to do the work, then I think it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, so my bigger concern, just while we're on this, is the labelling of perfectionism and highlighting the potential for anxiety. What I would also encourage is for you to go back and have a listen to our Thomas Curran podcasts. We did it across 2 parts. He's written a book called The Perfection Trap. What I would really be encouraging is that when you've got an 8-year-old, especially in this situation, reduce the focus on outcomes, play and have fun, steer away from anything where there's going to be this really anxiety-inducing environment. With what's going on with the co-parenting environment, that's already there enough. Let's reduce the pressure and make this feel easier. Here we go with our second question today via happyfamilies.com.au and the easy-to-use podcast button at the podcast link, happyfamilies.com.au. Number 2.
Hi, Justin. My name's Emily. I'm the parent to Theodore, who is 13 months old. I have a question. I'm listening to 10 Things Every Parent Needs to Know, and I'm listening to the bit about play, I think in like chapter 13 or 14 at the moment, where you talk about kids around the age of like 2 to 3 start to get real social benefits. Theodore isn't in kind of daycare or preschool yet, and I'm just wondering, do you have any advice about an age that would be good to start? Not necessarily every day, maybe just a couple of days a week. I'm just kind of wondering if there's like an ideal or an age that we should have started by. Thanks so much. Bye.
My initial response is similar to what age should I start my kids at school? I'm actually going to say delay.
Yeah, not everyone has the privilege to be able to make this choice, but it's wonderful if you can. There are some families where you have the child and your child just needs to go back into care because paying the mortgage, paying the rent, paying for living costs is so expensive these days. But in Emily's case, what a wonderful opportunity to do this. The first thing that I want to mention, other than delay, is go back and have a listen to our podcast, episode number 947. It dropped on March the 12th. Just over a month and a half ago. Janet Erickson is a researcher who's been working with the number one researcher on the planet, a researcher by the name of Jay Belsky, who has pretty much said the same thing. Their research is delay as long as you reasonably can. Your children are going to be better off with you so long as you're a safe and healthy parent. And it sounds like Emily is. That's going to be the absolute ideal. Kylie, you used to work in early childcare. You looked after babies from the very youngest right up until they launched into school. What other advice would you have as somebody who's worked in that industry for such a long time?
If you're looking at childcare as your child's social outlet, if that's the only reason that you are wanting to put your kids in childcare, while there are definitely benefits from being in the system, I think that research really clearly makes the argument that your children are going to be emotionally and socially more rounded and better off when they have the nurturing environment of mum and dad as much as possible. So where you are able to utilize other social networks within your community, your children are going to benefit from that so much more. Smaller groups definitely create better quality relationship and interaction. And when we do that in the comfort of our backyard, in our home or at a park, and it's just 1 or 2 other kids, the capacity for our kids to learn the social skills needed to navigate the challenges that relationships bring with them, with the loving interaction, support and scaffolding of a caregiver, a parent or close family member, there's just so much more added benefit to that than being one of many with only one caregiver or 2 caregivers to take care of a number of children.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I hear what you're saying, my summary would be kids are going to nurture better relationships, better social skills, better emotional skills if they're in natural and unstructured environments with people that know them and love them. And you're going to get better care from a parent than a paid provider. Not that I'm throwing shade at paid providers. They do a great job. And we really do need more people to work in that nurturing environment. But you're more likely to provide that enriching environment and provide the care that your children need if it's you doing it rather than somebody paid.
Yeah, totally.
The other thought that just popped into my mind as I was thinking about the research is when you do stop delaying and decide to put your kids into childcare, again, if you've got the privilege of making that decision when it suits you, the research does suggest that if the kids don't have a consistent routine around it and are not doing enough hours, that will work against them. They need to know that they're going in, let's say 2 days a week. The research showed that anything less than 9 hours per week, and it feels too haphazard. It doesn't feel like there's structure and routine. It feels unpredictable. So we want to make sure that that routine is there and that they're getting at least 9 hours a week so that they know what's happening and when, and they can form stable relationships in the childcare environment. So daycare matters, and it will be useful for your children at some point, but to the extent that you can delay it, check out episode 947 from Janet Erickson on March the 12th. You'll get a whole lot more information there and hopefully find that wonderfully helpful. If you have questions for us, jump onto happyfamilies.com.au, click on the podcast page, press the button, and let us know what's on your mind. We look forward to answering your questions every Tuesday, at least 2 a week. That's the plan. We'll see how we go with that. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. If you're looking for more information about how to make your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.